this is that the healthcare crisis that the planet is facing is not an accident. It is a result of stresses that threaten life. In other words, what's going on in the world is presenting us with threats to our own future existence. And there's something called the biological imperative, which responds to those stresses. And what happens is when we get stressed too much with distress, that's the negative stress, that's where illness comes from. So I really want to set the record straight, because there's a new insight here, because we've always blamed illness such as cancer or diabetes, cardiovascular disease. We blamed them on the genes. And it turns out, no, the genes are not responsible. In fact, here's a number that if you hear, it's like, wow, and that is less than 1% of disease is connected to genetics. And all of a sudden it says, well, where's all the disease coming from that's making this crisis? And the answer is this: disease is a result of stress. And stress is really simplified by saying, what's stress? I said, well, it's different for every individual, but basically the simple understanding is you have a wish, a destination, a desire where you want to go in your life, and anything that gets in the way of that will actually result in a stress interfering with your destination. And then stress hormones are released into the body, and this is where disease comes from, because stress hormones change the energy balance of the body for a simple reason. Stress hormones shut off the growth mechanism. Stress hormones inhibit the immune system. And the more stress that we're experiencing in this fact that over 90% of illness on this planet is stress, and then you look at the world, it's going chaotic on us, it's going upside down. And I say, recognize this. This is actually not stressful. It's very positive in this regard. The civilization that we are currently in is not sustainable. It is causing the upheaval to move out of civilization to another civilization. Just go from civilization A to civilization B. In order to go from A to B, you have to break down A and simultaneously build up B. So there's this period between A and B, which is collectively called chaos. And when you look at the world and you see all the things that are going on, and people are going, oh my God, the world's going upside down, and going, thank God. You know why? Because if we keep the same civilization we've had, that's the thing that's causing the extinction. By the simple fact is, if we don't change the consciousness of civilization, we are heading full speed ahead right now to a collision with extinction. We are facing that extinction. That's not 1,000 years from now. That's within this century, within a few decades. And so basically, I say, then what's the problem? I say, the perception of the stress of a chaos is creating a vast increase in the healthcare crisis. And I'm saying, what if you let go of that stress and start to regulate? Well, this is a normal behavior necessary for us to survive on this planet. And all of a sudden, it's not that negative thing anymore. And I say, well, we have to start thinking of different kinds of thoughts and behavior and harmony. For what reason? Stress is the cause 90% or more of illness. So basically, what you want is the opposite of distress, which then turns out to be eustress, which is good stress. You say, what is good stress? I say, go out and play sports, go out and exercise. I say, why? You're pushing on your body, you're stressing it, but not in a negative way. You're stressing it in a positive way, because the body's response is to get stronger. And so I say, oh, well, if we can get in a place of eustress, then we cancel the stress that is causing illness on this planet. And I say, well, there's even more ways than just exercising and all that. It's basically start living in a positive recognition of the world, because the negative thoughts are the thoughts in the consciousness that the brain translates into the stress chemistry that causes the illness. So in contrast, as we start seeing the world in a more positive way, that understanding that this is really a wonderful experience, that love is like the potent medicine that cancels stress, we start to learn to live in love with ourselves, which is very important. That's the biggest start. And then learn to love the people around us and the world around us. And I say, well, what would be the net result? And the answer is the healthcare crisis would instantly disappear, because the only issue, we're not adversely affected by genes, we're adversely affected by the consciousness of stress. And therefore, as we come together in community and harmony, that reduces all the stress. So we're in a process of getting out of the chaos as we build this new thing. And that's why, Steve, I like being here with you and my colleagues on this talk is because this is a transition period. And if we can move through the transition with a positive vision that this is really going to be really good, then the health issues that are facing this world right now will disappear. And it's interesting because health is not something out of our control. We are controlling 90% of our health. If you recognize 1% due to genes, the rest of it is due to our lifestyle, our beliefs, and our attitudes about life. Those are things that we can adjust. And therefore, since we can adjust it, then we're not victims. But then we have to recognize, well, how do we adjust it? And the answer is we have to get out of fear and start getting into love, because love is the resolution of this whole problem. Fear is the cause of the problem. And coming together in harmony and community, by definition, is an expression of love, because we're bringing wholeness and unity to the world. And so as we participate at that level of building up a harmonious world, guess what? We're in a case of eustress. That's the part where, my goodness, this is good stuff that's making us stronger.
Yeah, thank you, Bruce. That's it. Yeah,